Hey, welcome back to another TokuTalkers. We're here just Toku talking the episode 2 of GoZyuger. I'm one of your hosts, Buster. With me, as always, is Wyatt. And today we're discussing episode 2 of number 1 Sentai GoZyuger, Catch the Treasure, It's My Prey. Uh,
Yes.
so this episode, I'm still really enjoying the show. We're kind of like starting to get into like a rhythm, as usual, of episode 2s, of like, okay, this is what's going to be like the basic episode to episode structure.
Yeah, this is
Um,
a lot more indicative of what I imagine a normal episode will be. The first episode, and it's probably true with a lot of Sentai, is maybe not misleading, but it is very like, oh, they're kind of coming in with a bang. It's not
yeah, very
exactly indicative
explosive.
of what it's going to be. So I genuinely had no idea what the hell to expect from the show. This sort of puts it into, that like kind of the formula, the things that I could see them doing with the
Yeah.
show. And yeah, I guess we'll have to dig into it and talk about it throughout this episode.
Yeah. I guess like the major like thing of this episode is that we got our introductions to Blue and Yellow.
Mm,
I got their names written down. I only got their first names written down because I don't like
yeah.
sometimes I just don't want to do the last names. Blue is Rikyo. He is an former idol, and
Mm,
Yellow is Ryugi, who
mm,
Ryugi's really funny. I
yeah.
like both of these.
Uh,
They come in with the most flashy intros imaginable. Like Ryugi literally just
mm,
like carries a giant ass piano,
yeah.
puts it down, and starts singing what's practically a religious song
uh,
about the Tegasword. Uh,
yeah. So
it,
so he's kind of a yeah. Like I think that you predicted that or like mentioned that before that
yeah,
he would be like a religious type character, and I definitely picked up on that as well. So and then this sort of like yeah, this seems to
yeah.
confirm
Literally
it
his
that he's like a
introduction
very
scene.
devout, like
Yeah,
monk type. So,
yeah. He's also super strong. He can like there was a point in the episode where like he's like fighting with the Red Ranger's mech like as in
mhm,
civilian form, and he's just holding the sword. It's just
yeah,
oof. I always love those effects in Toku.
mhm,
Um, and then Blue. I'm liking Blue more than I thought. A Blue I thought could go
mhm,
either way for me because it's like idol types, they can
yeah,
be hit and miss. But I'm really enjoying Rikio's kind of like very flashy shtick, and also the fact that they like when he's being introduced, he has a little like the little song music video. Like this is the song title, this is who wrote the
yeah,
lyrics.
yeah.
That's really cute. I like that. I hope that becomes a
Yeah.
recurring gag.
I think he made me laugh the hardest in this episode, I would say, like by a pretty wide margin. Like that episode or that section in the episode where he shows up to the old people's house and
Yeah,
is like pretending to be ill and then needs them to like give him money or like a priceless artifact or whatever so that he could sell it. It's just like so it's so stupid and so like cravenly like this guy doesn't give a shit about his fans or
yeah,
any like he just treats them as like objects or like ways to get ahead and everything, which is very funny. I like it when you start a show, especially like a team show like this, with like amoral characters, like characters that
yeah.
either don't like each other or have some problems with each other or whatever. Just like these big character flaws are very nice to see early on.
Yeah,
And
and it
yeah,
does like
I
play
feel
into
like
like the
his
fact that like
his
everyone's rivaling with each other,
yeah.
in the whole like battle thing, where it's like, of course, like no, they're not always gonna be the most morally correct people because they're all fighting each
Mhm.
other for the wish.
Yeah.
And actually, that brings us to like one of my most interesting things I found of this episode, the treasure hunt, because it's
Mhm.
kind of I kind of like how this episode like kind of toys with the Sentai formula, because usually it's like okay, they meet the first battle of the monster, then they like retreat for whatever reason. But no,
Mhm.
the battle is still going. They're just having to do a different thing, and that comes in the form of that treasure hunt or like the monster
Yeah.
gimmick. And based on the preview for next episode, which we'll get to at the end, it seems like that's gonna be a recurring thing where they meet the monster, they fight for a bit, and then they have to play their game.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that this is could potentially be very good for the pacing of the show, because I always found that Sentai, I mean, these shows in general can kind of have a problem with pacing, with the fights and everything, especially something like Kamen Rider, which usually adopts the like 2 episode per storyline formula. it can make it feel like the first episode is like completely pointless as far as like fighting goes. Like if
Yeah.
not much is happening in like, oh, they just don't beat the bad guy and they got to do it next episode. Like if nothing like actually story wise happens during that, it can feel fairly pointless. And then that can kind of be the case in Sentai. I always felt that similarly with like the mech fights. I feel like the biggest problem with them tends to be that the conflict of the episode is resolved. They beat the monster, and then they have to beat the monster again, and it's no different. It's the same exact thing again, just in a giant robot or whatever. And maybe there's a slight twist, but the storytelling is over. Like there is no more like
The story
characters or
stops.
anything to plot up or conflict to stop. They just have to beat this giant monster. This seems to be circumventing that by having like one, they're going on at the same time, and then two, throughout the like them making it so that the entire episode is structured around like a game,
Yeah.
which one,
Kind of
big
like Geek.
X-Aid vibes, big thumbs up to that.
Oh
And
yeah. Oh yeah.
two,
Also X8. Yeah.
much more, like appropriately, because X-Aid was taking from these shows is Kabutak and Robotak, where it's
Oh.
like the combat is based on playing a game rather than actually beating each other up and killing the other guy, which
Yeah.
I always thought would be an awesome way to do it's like a Sentai or any Toku show, is to just like take these stupid games and contests and elevate them to like an epic level. That to me is so much more interesting than like we have to beat this guy hard enough until he explodes. Still give me that. That's fine, but you need the
The
little
occasional
sauce.
shake-up
Yeah,
does help keep things fresh.
but you said it was like Geats.
Yeah, kind of like Geats, where it's like, the entire episode would be like structured around games or like
Mm,
collecting or like doing a
yeah,
specific objective.
totally. I can
Um,
see that.
yeah. Um, Yeah, and I do hope this continues, and okay, especially like if we could still get those character moments of like
Hmm.
everyone like trying to become the best at like a specific skill,
Yeah.
like and just like seeing how their personalities, because like okay, Blue's gonna use his idle charms to get some like gold, like
Hmm.
it's just like just to Hono, because he's just a brash guy, is
Yeah.
just gonna use the mecha to dig for treasure. It's great.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I just like if we can get more like that with like different kinds of games, it seems like we are gonna, at least for the first few episodes, we are. I'm very much down for like how the show's being structured.
Hmm.
Um, um, also like another like just interesting thing. It seems like they or like a couple of the Reds have already been defeated. It seems, which I
Hmm.
kind of like that. Like both, like because it's like okay, it implies the battle's been going on for a little bit before the story starts. I always kind of like that,
Yeah.
because we see Blue use the Boon Boonger
Hmm.
gear. Um and then like in the preview we also see Yellow using the O Ranger gear.
Yeah.
Not gear, ring. I
Yeah.
don't
The
Zenkaiger
the boom
Zenkaiger.
yeah, the Boom Boonger thing, like in my head I just assumed that it was uh, like I didn't watch all of Boom Boonger or whatever. Maybe
No,
there's
they did not explain like that. That is just like okay, he
yeah,
just has
yeah.
it.
So I assumed that it was like, okay, maybe he was given the ring in the end of Boom Boonger or whatever. It's similar to that
No, he
happens in
just
the
has it. Like it just seems like he
yeah,
defeated
so
the
so just
whoever's the Boom Boonger warrior off
but
screen.
that's also like whatever, it's fine. We
Yeah.
just watched Boom Boonger for 50 episodes. We
We
don't
don't need to see the suit again.
yeah, yeah.
And yeah, again, it just also like I also like the idea of like oh the battle's been going on long before a protagonist even like got
Mhm.
into this, uh
Yeah.
yeah, it just keeps like oh the scale is so huge. It's like but like
Yeah,
oh it's
because
been
it would
going on
be
longer than we can comprehend.
yeah, because we like it would be too convenient if it all just started around the same time. It makes sense that it's like that this has been going for a bit, similar
Yeah,
to Don Brothers, where we're thrown in with Haruka, but the Don Brothers have existed before that. Like they were whatever, like these people were being picked and like cycled in and everything, and then it wasn't just like all of them joined at once and then became the
yeah,
good guys fighting for whatever. Like yeah, I like that. It gives like a history, implies a history to the show without actually ever having to show any type of history to it, which is very
yeah,
good. You never want to actually go into backstory in a world building. You just want to imply it, and then people are like, "Okay, I trust you," and then you never have to do any
Yeah,
work.
I feel like that's like I was talking about this with a couple people. I feel like that's kind of like a trap a lot of like world building kind of falling
Mm,
into recently, or just like in
yeah.
general, where it's like, oh, we have to explain every minute detail, but
Hmm.
like I feel like a lot of those details don't really add to the story or themes.
Yeah.
Like if the detail is important to the thematic backbone of your story, then tell it. But if it's
Yeah.
just this guy took a piss, don't worry
Yeah,
about it.
yeah, yeah. It's not, off topic. We'll go back to talking about the episode. But for me personally, I have my own, like, I have world building that's just for me and will never be a part of the
Yeah.
thing that I'm writing, but I use it to inform elements to keep things consistent, but it doesn't have to be actually a part of the text. So there, it's a metatextual thing.
Yeah,
But
and
anyway,
I think like Don Brothers did that well, and like this show seems to be
hmm
following suit. Um, I do think like that in general, like Toei Tokusatsu, like whatever, especially the anniversary stuff, they do like a pretty at least interesting job at like trying to give like a metatextual like world building to like it
hmm
all like in its own little series. Like of course it's not gonna connect to all the other series, but who cares? This is just about this series,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
I don't know. I could go on a rant about like
mm,
how people are wrong about Decade and Geo's world building and like oh they're
mm.
actually stupid for different ways or they're actually brilliant
Sure.
in this way. But that's a whole other thing. I could yeah.
How did you feel about the monster, the first monster of the week?
Oh, the treasure guy.
Mm.
He was pretty. He was like I do kind of like. I always enjoy when the humans are kind of like they become or not even become monsters, but they're like infected by the
Yeah.
monster in
Oh
some
yeah, I
way. I
love
always
that too.
enjoy that. Like I love it in Kamen Rider, I love it in Sentai, and it's good to see
Mm.
that GoZyuger's doing it.
Yeah.
Um, uh, he was all right. I did like his voice. Like
Yeah.
always like the voice performance was pretty solid. I think I was more like endeared by the guy in the mech. That
Oh
was
yeah,
just
the Cassius
because
Beale.
yeah,
Yeah.
because he like the first thing we see of him is that he daps up Fire Candle, and then he
Mm.
just has this picture that we're both best friends forever,
Yeah,
and it's
it's
so
so
like
funny. And then at the end of the episode,
you
like
just get
Fire Candle also has a same picture of it, which is
yeah
like that's funnier. That's way funnier than if he didn't know or care about him.
yeah. Like
Is
honestly,
that
like Fire
like
Candle's making a great first impression as like a
yeah?
general, like
This
just
is a lesson that I learned from friend of the show, Toby Jones, is that yes is always funnier than no. So if you're
yeah
doing a scene with like stupid comedy or whatever, like a ridiculous sequence of events, leaning into it and like having the characters be like, like it with the vibe is better than like trying to pull away from it and be like, this is stupid. Like
yeah
winking at the audience and saying that this is dumb. It's always funnier to just like go with the flow. And I agree
yeah
with that. Like I think that that's a good rule of thumb to go by, and I
yeah.
feel like that fits into that pretty well. And
I'm actually
yeah,
like I'm glad you mentioned that because I always feel that way. I just didn't know how to put that into words.
mm,
So yeah, thanks,
yeah,
Toby.
yeah, great thumbs up, Toby. But I also really like the mix of live action actors, like face actors plus monster suits. So like there's like the couple that are like fused together.
Yeah,
That's like a monster suit, and then like their queen is like a gigantic robot, and the
yeah,
background you see, and then like but then the two like main like Bouquet and Fire Candle are human actors, and they even have like the colored contacts similar to the Noto and Don Brothers. So
yeah. Just yeah, they're just making it great for for like what could have easily just been like oh they're just kind of random ass monsters. They're
mm,
making great first impression like so
yeah.
far,
Oh
and I'm
yeah,
very
I'll
excited to see
say
like more of them.
mm, I would say regarding the treasure monster is that like well, first of all, I like that they're called like number one or no one. That's very
Oh yeah,
funny.
that's a good
Uh,
pun.
Two, like I think that he is like he's like not like an amazing like oh my god this is the best monster ever, but like it's a pretty funny first monster. The idea that he's like this treasure hunter and everybody else is like, Tono's first idea of treasure hunting is digging, like a normal person, and
Yeah,
then his is just going and stealing from banks, like stealing like these big cartoon gold bars
yeah, big
from
money bags.
and then that's what inspires what's his name? Rico to be like, I can steal as well. Like, again, just so good. Like, the conflict of the episode being not based around fighting until like the end, like the climax of the episode, makes it so that like the heroes and villains can interact in a like non-violent way, but still in a competitive way. And it's just is like such a nice change of pace from like the normal tempo of a Sentai episode,
Yeah.
especially like after Boom Booncher, which would spend like 5, maybe 7 minutes on the normal plot, and then like 18 minutes on the fighting.
Yeah.
Just
I mean,
like
granted,
most
Boo
of the
has really
episode
good
was fighting.
fights, but like,
Yeah,
still,
but
like, yeah, it's just
yeah,
nice to
for
just
for
have
me, it
more.
got overwhelming enough that I felt like dropping the show. I felt like
Yeah.
not really picking it
That's
up after the first
Yeah.
half.
The second
So
half I do think is more character driven, but like I
mm,
do kind of agree that first half is a lot of like aura and hype moments,
sure,
for lack of a better
yeah,
derogatory. Uh
yeah, 0% writing, 100% aura.
yeah, yeah. I mean granted I like Boo because of that aura, but still like,
Yeah.
it can
Oh
get a
yeah,
bit like much.
no disrespect to the show or people who are fans of it or whatever. It's just a personal
Yeah.
taste thing.
Yeah. Um Yeah, I think that's like the core of. Yeah, I'm still enjoying GoZyuger a lot, especially now
Mhm.
that we're like getting into like, okay, what is the show actually going to be about? What's going to be our like our episode to episode
Yeah.
rhythm? And what has me even more excited is the preview for next episode. Oh wait, do you have
Mm.
anything else to say about episode 2 before we head into the preview?
I'll just say that I hope that the landlady and her son continue to be like important characters. I feel like they will be. I mean, they're in the
Yeah, they're in
intro
the opening.
and everything, but I just like, I always like when a Sentai series has characters that are outside of the world that they're in,
Yeah, they
just like
ground us.
yeah, normal people. And like, even though landlords are evil, uh she's a pretty entertaining character, and Tono is a guy with no job and isn't paying rent, so like, you know like, he
Yeah,
does deserve some grief from
she's
her.
lesser on the landlord evil tier
Yeah,
list.
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. So, but yeah,
Uh,
those were my last thoughts, and I'm excited to see more. I'm excited to see the other
yeah.
two characters.
Now, there's a reason I wanted to bring up the preview. Is because we
Mhm.
keep mentioning Don Brothers like in these last 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Well, Don
Mm-hmm.
Momotaro, a version, at least this version of Don Momotaro, is coming next episode. And the reason I actually have to explain this because you're not an Ultraman fan.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who's playing Don Momotaro is one of the best Ultraman villains in the
Mm-hmm.
most recent not recent series, but like in the most recent memory.
Okay.
Trigier from Ultraman
Okay.
Taiga. Like he is like a
Mm.
very infamous but very fun villain.
Yeah, I was gonna ask
Uh
if you knew who that was. Like, that was
yeah, and it like
being Don Momotaro.
yeah, and it's pretty cool how we're doing like tokusatsu alumni in general
I
instead of
like that.
just
Yeah,
limiting ourselves to Sentai,
because I feel like
which
you would run out of Sentai people pretty quick, because some of that, like, you would get as far as like the 2000s, and then they would just get like too
yeah.
old or whatever.
Yeah,
Like,
or
after
yeah.
that point.
Yeah, you'd have to like green screen the mid like they did in Zenkaiger specials.
Yeah.
Like um and especially because like they doing the little fancy dance, so
Mm.
like to
Yeah, yeah.
transform, so that would take a bit. But yeah, I am pretty interested to see like because that actor was really good in Taiga, so I'm very interested to see like
Mm.
how he'll do like a Don Momotaro type. It's also interesting that they're kind of playing around with like, oh, he's the prime minister or something in a popularity contest. Going to be very interested to see how that plays out
Yeah,
next episode.
I love that. And
But
it kind of reminds me of Geo, where they had like, it's different, but they had like Kuroto from X Age show up like
yeah, as like
early
a
on
king.
the O's episode, and it's like unrelated to X Aid, but it is kind of, but but like, they just did that because they're like, we know how popular this guy is, we got to put him in the thing. So like,
Yeah,
if
that was like the only
it's
time
like,
Geo did that, besides like the
yeah,
Fies and Forze crossover.
and then so it's similar to like, all right, we got to get Don Momotaro in here quick.
Yeah,
He's got to be one of the first. It makes sense. It's, one of the more
he's
recent
still
shows.
recent. Yeah, like I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
the
It was like
Kugata
right
Oger we got
before.
last episode.
So I
So
wonder if they're gonna go backwards from, because like, if they, well, no, because they might mix and match because they have some of
yeah,
the ones already collected. But like, I just wonder if they will keep.
we already saw Ryusol Red in the trailer, so I think that's gonna be after this Momotaro. And even
Mhm.
then, like as we saw at the end of the episode, Kuwagata Oger's the Universe Warrior is still like
Yeah.
out there. They're gonna fight eventually. So,
Mm.
like, I do kind of like how the Sentai Reds aren't defeated immediately. They're kind of just like just these like agents of chaos right now.
Yeah.
So I'll be very interested to see how that develops.
Mm.
Uh, but yeah, I think we talked a decent chunk about our feelings on this new GoZyuger. So
Yeah, it's good.
yeah, it's good. I'm
I'm
really enjoying it.
definitely gone from like cautiously optimistic to like just generally optimistic about the show after the first episode, because you never know,
Yeah,
with the first episode could
yeah.
be
There
the
could be a
false
complete
impression.
fluke.
Yeah, so this one I feel like is really solid. It's more like well paced. It's more solid as far
And more
as,
fighting game combos.
yeah. There's more fighting game combos. There's like, mecha fights. Good stuff. Big thumbs up. Rest in peace, Cassius Bell.
Yeah,
He'll
he's a
be
real
remembered.
one. Yeah, I think you can plug your stuff now, Wyatt.
All right. Well, anybody listening, you want to hear more of my beautiful voice? I have a Patreon. It's only magic. Go there. If you just got $1, you can listen to me and my friend Wayne talk about every robot in existence on Walcool Ropod, 5 to 10 minute episodes. So it's nice to just binge through them all. If you got $3 though, you can get my main squeeze, which is Cartoon Buffoons, a week early. If you just want to check it out for free, it's on my YouTube channel. It's only magic. I also have videos on there. Planning to come back at some point and make real videos and not just post podcasts, but who knows? And then yeah, so that is everything for me right now. Go follow me on Twitter, Wasp Ranger, WAZP Ranger, Blue Sky, same thing. Actually, don't follow me on Twitter. I'm probably not going to post on there that often. Just go to Blue Sky, Wasp Ranger, WAZP Ranger, and that's all. What about you?
All right, I have a Blue Sky too, Buster Corp, and that's also my YouTube channel, where you can find whatever I post. I don't know anymore. I just kind of do whatever I feel like that day. I mean, I have a Punch Out Wii video coming out, so if you like Punch Out, maybe check
Mm,
it out. Uh, but also check out this channel, Modular Media. We do a lot sorts of podcasts. We got Analytical Fanboys coming up. Components is not happening for a bit. Actually, no. Analytical Fanboys we were supposed to do this week, but like everyone got busy. So just hold on. What next week? Analytical
mm,
Fanboys. Then like week after we'll do our like weekly shoot the shit podcast Components. And
yeah.
sometimes I bring in Wyatt to guest star on like a
Mm.
Components or
I
two.
mean, yeah,
So
if you want to, feel
yeah,
free to bring me on whenever.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, well, we are trying to get some more guests, so maybe. Yeah. But that's gonna do it for this episode of Toku Talkers. We'll see you next week for GoZyuger episode 3.
peace out.